Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Traveling Consolation, Cebu by motor, meaning motorbike. That's what they say. You want motor, sir? You want motor, ma'am? And this is my partner took this video. She does a really good job out there with a GoPro 8, I believe. That's what I handed her. And I'm going to start out in the daytime, leaving, I think she's going up to meet a friend up here who is able to process some tax information for me for the Philippines. And as she's leaving, it will be a little bit twilight going into the nighttime area, so it'll be a little different experience. If you're looking, generally, once you get out of Cebu City, main part of the city, Mandaue City, prices go down for rents, cost of living goes down. How do you find places? Many of them are not listed online, so you hire a tricycle, a motorbike driver, or a taxi even, and you start wandering out, you start asking the locals, anybody have a house for rent, apartment for rent in these areas, and just start doing your due diligence. You could very possibly find a house for rent up in these types of areas. This is about an hour or so north of Cebu City proper, depending upon the traffic, and maybe you could find a place, decent house, and there again, everybody's idea of decent is different, but if you're looking for a low cost, generally you have some latitude, you have some tolerance. Low end cost to rent might be around 5,000 pesos, about 100 US dollars. Going up from there, of course, in size and location and in the type of furnishings, whether you're in a secured subdivision, number of different factors. So those are options. But yeah, start asking around. If you can find a Filipino that you trust to find and help you negotiate, just make sure you specify what you're looking for. I've heard lots of stories of sales agents, in fact, calling people and say, "Come and look at this place. Come and look at this place." Has just not at all what they're looking for. So you need to be very specific. You know, don't waste my time. These are the things I require. These are the things I would like. And there again, we all have different items that are required for us to have a comfortable life. Now, one thing I love about the Philippines is people are out living. There's lots of people. The Philippines is about 100 and probably close to 115 million people. The last census was 2010, I believe. So anyway, a lot of people packed into an area about the size of Arizona, about the size of Nevada, about Italy is a little larger in size than the Philippines. So a lot of there's a dense population here, especially in and near the cities. I think Manila is one of the most densely populated areas in the world. Anyway, I'm going to touch on a number of subjects during this video as we ride through what would be considered to many a province type area. It's right outside of the main city, Cebu City, Mandaue City, so you're close to those services. I believe you've got one or two malls up here, SM Mall, Gaisano Mall probably. Many of you know, but not everybody, that I've been making videos for about 5 years. I always carry a camera with me, and I started making a lot of real estate type videos back then when the salespeople in the malls would grab me and say, "Come and look at my condominium for sale right now." And I would take a video and put it up, and there was a lot of interest, so I continued to do that. I'm not a realtor, not involved in real estate, but I do put a lot of videos up, and There are, I do cost of living videos, I do travel videos about different parts of the Philippines, I do immigration, a number of different types of, I do one on hospital and dental costs. So you can search out those playlists if you're interested in any specific title. And if you would be so kind as to hit the like button, that helps to promote the algorithms of these YouTube videos, I guess. As far as YouTube itself, I have, it's quite a hobby. It's a very time-consuming hobby. I enjoy it. Keeps me busy, that's for sure. And I've met a lot of good Filipinos and many good expats because of this channel. Come to town and say, hey, let's have coffee. I'll buy you lunch. Anyway, I'm occasionally asked about and even about taxes and how much money you make and that type of thing. I processed taxes concerning this. It's basically a hobby, like I was saying, and in the U.S., when does a hobby become business? Well, it become when you start making consistent money, I guess. But I process taxes for the Philippines as well as the USA last year and this year, and in both cases I fall well below the amount of income that is required to pay any taxes on that income. In fact, basically it's a losing proposition. You take if you make $20, 1,000 pesos on a video, for instance, which many of you don't, I don't, and you take a trip over from Cebu City to Mactan, by the time you deduct your business expenses, and I will tell you that even before I deducted any business expenses, I did not reach that level of having to pay any taxes. But once you start taking those expenses into account, business expenses, which you are allowed in almost all countries, the transportation over other types of issues might be 400 pesos over and back. Well, that's 800 pesos. And you probably have a jeepney ride and a tricycle ride. And so anyway, it's very easily costs more than that. 1,000 pesos or 20 US dollars. So it's mostly a hobby. I do the taxes just in case the IRS comes to me one day and says, we want to see all your receipts for this, because you're getting a tax statement, an income statement from YouTube, Google. Now let me touch on travel. A trip like this, for instance, Governor Garcia, the governor of Cebu province, she's the governor of everything except Cebu City. Cebu City is an independent city apart from Cebu, even though it sits in the center of Cebu province, and it is governed by a mayor, and so there are different rules concerning quarantines and travel, those types of things, a little more restrictive than the rest of Cebu province. Governor Garcia, many months ago, understood how important it was to start opening the economy back up, to give some life and hope, income back to many of the people who are involved in the industry. I'm afraid that in the end there aren't many people out there traveling, spending money, because millions and millions and millions of people are still out of work, or they are, how do you put it, they're working part-time. Many companies that are operating and hiring people have cut the hours way back, so the people who are working have much less income. So even at this point in time, I see very few people in the malls. Those people who are in the malls are not spending very much money. Most of the money being spent are in the grocery stores, in the markets, and those people who have jobs making a little money are trying to support their other family members who do not have income. So that is kind of the present situation. Every area, every region, every LGU, local government unit, can set their own rules. So you might be free to travel in most of Cebu province, but I think to go over to Bohol Island, which is very popular, you still need to get a PCR test and you get a letter of approval, travel letter, and a number of different things in order to travel over there. So it makes it complicated and a little bit risky in trying to travel. I know a few people who have traveled, and they tell me, "Oh, I didn't have trouble here. I didn't have trouble here. I had the papers. I went through all the process, got all the papers I needed, but nobody ever asked for them." So it really depends upon the area that you're in. You just have to dig down through the information and then be willing to take that risk that things can change while you're at your destination. I have it's tomorrow. It's May 1st, 2021, and I have not seen any hints really about opening up travel to foreign tourists in the next 2 months at least. I mean, things can happen rapidly, but after watching this for a year and a half with the lockdowns loosening up, getting more restrictive, you occasionally see some politicians, somebody say, "Well, we would like you to start thinking about letting foreign tourists in," but the fact of the matter is they're very unlikely in the next 2 months, perhaps 3 or 4 months, perhaps even longer than that. The other side of that is that there are literally tens of thousands of condos, Airbnb units, houses, rooms for rent sitting vacant, have been for over a year. So there are lots of deals. There are resorts offering pretty good deals if you can travel to those areas. I've heard of rents being reduced as much as 40% and more if you find those motivated owners, landlords, and even for buying. I've mentioned JR from JRC, Visa Consultancy. He does real estate as well, and he was showing me some information on a couple of properties that it dropped drastically in sales price. We'll do another video soon about the real estate side of his business. But there are deals out there. It takes some homework, takes some looking. And I know even back in the USA, I had a friend who was an investor in real estate, and occasionally he would tell me, "I bought a house today. I hadn't planned on buying it, but I made a low ball offer and they accepted it. So now I own this house." There are other options in the meantime, waiting for the Philippines to open. I've got a friend who went to Thailand recently, and about the day he showed up, they shut down a lot of the bars and the main tourist areas because of some increase in positive tests. And I don't know enough about the tests in the Philippines or much of the world to really make any kind of determination how accurate those tests are, how many are false positives, for instance. That has been an issue in many parts of the world for over the last year. Some other good news is that there are a number of other other companies coming out with different types of vaccines. One is an oral vaccine. One is a nasal spray type of vaccine. I use a nasal spray betadine that is supposed to kill any virus and other viruses like that, as well as the betadine mouthwash has been proven to do a pretty good job. And I also ivermectin. There's a big discussion in the news. There are more and more doctors using ivermectin, a cheap, effective, and it should be readily available. There are a couple of companies that are going to start manufacturing that. It's been around 30 years. It's safe. And there are the FLCCC. Look those up. They've got a lot of information online. The YouTube and other companies have been trying to censor a lot of that information if it doesn't fit the government and the big pharma line. Anyway, let's hope for better things in the near future. Thanks for coming along. Take care, and we'll see you next time.